Everyone's talking about inflation, rising interest rates, and the threat of potential recession. And the story that we keep hearing, it's about cooling the economy, a necessary step to bring inflation under control. But what if this is not the full picture? And what if the slowdown of economy is intentional and by design? So let's be fair, the mainstream economic playbook makes sense. US Federal Reserve has been aggressively hiking interest rates since 2022. The goal? To tame inflation. And higher interest rates make borrowing expensive, people spend less, the demand cools off, and ultimately the prices stabilize. In theory, that's how economics works. Sometimes this medicine comes with side effects like recession. It is never officially the goal. It is just a risk they are willing to take. Let's go a little deeper, and that's what I actually wanted to talk about today. What if the recession isn't a side effect, but part of a bigger and more deliberate strategy? So let's explore some of the viewpoints circulating these days, and of course, not as a fact, but as a thought experiment. First, we have the debt rollover theory. United States has over 7 trillion US dollars in debt maturing in 2025, and according to some sources it is 9.2 trillion. And for the context, as per US Department of Treasury, as of April 2025, the total national debt of United States is around $34.6 trillion. So the 7 to 9 trillion debt maturing this year accounts for over 20 to 25% of total national debt, which is absolutely very significant. And if the interest rates stay high, which have been record high since for the past couple of years, since 2001, currently standing at 4.5%, refinancing that debt becomes very expensive. But if you slow down the economy, rates might drop again, and suddenly refinancing gets a lot cheaper, and ultimately the lower debt servicing costs will ease pressure on future budget deficits and ultimately improve fiscal sustainability. Second viewpoint is global economic reordering. So a US slowdown reduces domestic demand and imports, placing economic pressure on trade-dependent economies like China. It also strengthens US dollar, making American assets, especially the treasuries, more attractive. And this dynamic reinforces global reliance on US financial system, and it sustains the America's position of economic dominance. The third viewpoint is cooling labor power. Wages have been rising, which is absolutely great for workers, but central banks fear it fuels inflation. A recession cools the hiring, increases unemployment slightly, and it tempers the wage growth. And this is not at all a new play. It's exactly what happened in the Volcker's era in the 80s as well. The fourth one is a systematic reset. The most speculative idea that this is a soft, controlled reset of global financial order, a pause before new supply chains, new trade blocks, and maybe even a new monetary framework take hold. Now, I'm not saying these are definitely true, but they are worth thinking about. Is the recession just part of the usual economic cycle? Or is it something more strategic, more planned, even if not openly admitted?